Welcome to the Andy Ruther Show. Here is your host, Andy Ruther.
Welcome to the Andy Ruther Show. That is me, your host, Andy Ruther. Well, just got thrown for a loop before we got going here today. Got thrown for a little loop. Just had a phone call with the daycare director where Isla goes. And I guess she got a pretty nasty, as I look at it, really nasty to be fully honest. Bruise on her head. She was shoved into a shelf. It's really wicked, to be honest. I'm not going to show it, but it's really, really wicked on her forehead. So I guess concussion protocol, just like the NFL. Hopefully they do a better job than the NFL. The daycare director called me to kind of go over everything and what they have to monitor. And it's by far the worst bruise or any bang up that's happened to her since she's been born. So yeah, guys, not happy about this one. So I really hope it wasn't the kid she's had problems with. I really hope that. It's crazy, man. You already deal with this stuff at a very young age as a parent. And you guys can probably tell I'm calm, but I'm not happy if she was shoved into a shelf. You can if you guys could see this, I'm not going to show it. Sorry, but it's really bad. She has a massive knot here on her forehead, and there has been a problem with one of the kids in there. And if he did this to her, there's going to be a major problem with him staying there at this point. I've said this on the show. You guys are probably sick of hearing it. You can't be a repeat offender. You just can't be a repeat offender. Kids are going to act up. Kids are going to misbehave. I'm fully aware of that. But I really hope it's not the same kid, because there's going to be major problems. Because we pay too much money. I didn't know about it until I had a girl, obviously, had a kid. Daycare is basically a second mortgage. I've heard so many people say that lately, and it's true. It's basically a second mortgage. So if you're paying for it, I don't want repeated issues with my daughter and other kids in the class. Again, I know kids are going to misbehave. She's going to act up at times. She's probably going to bully kids at times. I get that, but I just hope it wasn't the same kid, because I don't want to worry about this, because they threw off my day. Now Brittany's calling me from her job, and she obviously has to focus on her job. She works in specialized pharmacy. She's mixing important drugs that people need. She can't be having her mind gone in other places. Now, obviously, this is something I would have to handle. I get, and I have no problem doing that, but it's just frustrating. It's very frustrating. She messaged the doctor, because we also don't know. I don't know what the protocol is for a 20-month-old. I don't know what you do when they hit their head real bad. Part of me thinks, well, we always hit our heads growing up. We didn't worry about concussions as much. I think I turned out okay. I don't know. I had my own severe brain injury later on in life, but that had nothing to do with this sort of thing. As a dad, I'm going to get protective like I feel right now. I just want her to feel safe. That's the thing. I just want all my kids, present, future, I just want them to feel safe. That's all I'm saying. And she loves that daycare, and I love that daycare. She loves the teachers. I love the teachers. I love everybody up there. But things are gonna have to change if we keep having the same incidents with the same kids. You're gone. You're out of here. Because they can fill that spot instantly. The waiting list on these daycares are insane. They're insane. It's uber competitive. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's long lists on these daycares for people. So I always say follow the money. You should follow the money with anything in life. Follow the money. The money here says, well, you can replace any kids that are problems with other kids. So it's really not follow the money here, right? Like with the NFL, follow the money. They don't want to mess with their money in the concussion thing. So they act like they care, even though they don't really care, right? Anything, politics, sports, pop culture, just follow the money. But here it doesn't really make practical sense. Anyway, sorry about that quick rant, guys. I just was thrown off. Just spoke with the daycare director. Then Brittany called me, spoke with her. So I won't look at my phone. I'll try not to look at my phone, see how she's doing since I have access to a camera there. I'm not a helicopter parent, and neither is Brittany. We're not helicopter parents at all. I think partly because we both grew up with multiple siblings and we get it. Definitely not helicopter parents. But also if she hit her head real hard, I mean, it looks like she got in a fight, to be honest. It literally looks like she was in a boxing match. It's just this big black and blue bruise on her forehead. And I feel terrible for her. I don't like to see my daughter in pain. I don't like to see her crying. Now, if she cries and whines because she's being a brat, that doesn't really bother me. I'm just like, whatever. You're acting up. You're being a terrible too. But this is different. The fact that she was shoved into a shelf unprovoked. I asked, did she do anything to provoke this? Unprovoked. So, yeah, it's bothering me right now. But I'm going to let it pass. These are all things I got to deal with. This is part of the job. This is part of the role of parenting. You can't watch everything. You can't monitor everything. This is part of the gig. This is what I signed up for. It's been kind of a rough week here. Poor Roscoe. His health took a turn last week again. I had to take him to the vet. His eyes were all acting up. He could barely open his eyes. And then 2 days later, I had to schedule an ophthalmologist appointment. So he has cataract in both eyes. He's basically fully blind now in his left eye. And he had severe pressure in his left eye as well. So he has glaucoma. So we've been treating him with drops. He gets 4 drops. He gets drops 4 times a day for his eyes. And we're hoping that it will alleviate the pain and the pressure. But it's not easy though, because we all know where this is heading. He has kidney disease. He's anemic. He's had 2 severe bouts of pancreatitis, and now he's got the eye issues. We knew he was going blind. We knew that. And we knew he was basically fully blind in one eye. It doesn't make it any easier. I was really, really sad last week. I was really sad, guys. When I left the ophthalmologist, it was about 30 minutes away in Northern Kentucky. I just cried my eyes out on the drive home. Because he's meant so much to me the last 3 years. He's been my buddy. I've talked about this. He's always there during the day. We have our little walks together. We have all that. He has such great intuition. It's amazing the intuition dogs have. They're just such wonderful animals. They're such comforting animals, especially if you're going through things. And I can count the times where he's been there, where I needed him, where I was sad, where I was depressed. So it's really tough to see him continuing to get old. And the truth is, the toughest part, I think, for me, and that's why I was crying so much, was thinking about him not being around for Isla. She truly loves him. He doesn't always love her back. In fact, I think she's been a lot for him, especially since she started to walk, and he gets timid and he gets scared and he gets startled because he can't see and she doesn't understand yet because she's a toddler and she runs a million miles an hour. She goes at him and she doesn't understand how to play with less aggression. So it's definitely been tough for him, but she absolutely loves him so much. We call Roscoe Rocky. That's his nickname. She loves saying Rocky. Hello, Rocky. Hi, Rocky. Bye, Rocky. And just the way she says it just warms my heart. It makes both Brittany and I so happy. And I think that's why I was so sad, and that's why I was so emotional last week, especially coming back from the eye doctor, because the thought of him not being around for her just crushes me. It's real tough. She loves him. She laughs. She thinks it's so funny when he walks up the stairs or if we pick him up or when you lift up the covers and she sees he's sleeping in the bed. She just loves it. She adores him. She loves animals. She truly does. She absolutely loves animals, and I think a lot of kids do, but she really, really, really does. And that's a tough pill to swallow for me, trying to explain when he does die. How do you explain that to a 2-year-old? How do you explain that? It's not easy. So it was real tough. It's real tough. The last 2 years have been tough for him, basically since we moved to this house. It's just tough because he loved it, and he does love this house. Chasing cars in the backyard. Finally, he had a yard and a fence and all the playing he'd do. But, it stinks. It's life. He's almost 13 and a half. He's lived a good life and he's still chugging along. I'll tell you what we're not doing is removing his left eye. That was something that the veterinarian talked about. Said, well, if these eye drops don't work, we're going to test them for 2 weeks. If they don't work, we might have to remove a left eye. You're not removing our dog's left eye, dude. He's 13 and a half. Come on. What are we doing? We're going to put him under the knife at 13 and a half. Our main veterinarian already said she didn't want to have a teeth cleaning because he's anemic and worried about the bleeding from the teeth cleaning. But we're going to give him anesthesia to remove an eye? No, get out of here. Not happening. So we'll have to figure some things out. He's actually right by me right now. They really are great animals. And I told Brittany whenever he does go, I'm going to be extremely sad and extremely depressed. I almost forget what life was like before him, having him every day here, which is weird because I told Brittany I lived at my parents' house for a full year by myself. I did that for a full year before I met her. So obviously I can do it. I lived my whole life without owning a dog. I can do it. But I've just grown so used to him. And I love taking care of him. I love feeding him. I love walking him. I love playing with him. He's such a lovable dog. And he's great. So I know whenever he goes, it's gonna be really, really tough for me. because he's a part of my day. Even if he's just sleeping, even if he's just sitting there, he's a part of my day. And he's an important part of my day. It's no different than eating, brushing your teeth, using the bathroom. Rocky's kind of just a part of my day. Now he sleeps a lot more. Obviously, he's old, but that would be removed and that would be tough. When I moved back to my parents' house, my brothers were very insistent on me getting a dog. They thought that would help me. And I was actually looking at his breed was one of the breeds I was looking at, Maltipoo. And it just worked out so great. I meet Brittany, I meet the girl. She already has the dog. We start our own family. It worked out great. It really did. And that's why the thought of this being taken away from me is tough. That's the truth. But you know what? As tough as it is, you got to go on. Not saying it's always easy. Obviously, I've dealt with that with my folks going, but it's just, you got to go on. But I totally get the emotional connection that people have with their animals, especially their dogs. I totally get that. They're truly a part of us. They're truly a part of our families. And for someone like Brittany, it's going to be extremely tough too. She's had him since she was 22, since she started pharmacy school. She grew into being a young woman, being an adult with him, right? Through pharmacy school, through relationships with other guys, through ups and downs in her own life. And she's talked about that at length with me, how important he's been to her and how just having him there. And I get that because I've received that as well from him. So it'll be tough on both of us and especially her. Again, the last 13 years of her life. That's more than a third of her life. She's had him, if you put things in context. So it's not easy. So crummy news, but again, he's getting old. He's still here, trying to be positive, trying to just savor the moments we have together. That's all you can do. Coming out the gate a little serious this episode. Sorry guys, it happens. Just want to talk about what's on my mind. And all that stuff's on my mind. So we'll deal. We'll make it through here as a fam. On a lighter note, can we talk about these news stories from Lisa Marie Presley? Can we pivot into that? Bro, I find this stuff so interesting. So, Lisa Marie Presley, when did she die? She has a book out. She has a book out that her daughter helped finish. She passed January 12th, 2023. So she passed about a little over a year and a half ago. Anyway, she has a book out now. It's her memoir. It's called From Here to the Great Unknown. And her daughter helped finish it using tapes that Lisa Marie had recorded, her daughter Riley. And there's some wild stuff coming out of this. It's like fascinating stuff to me. So the first thing that dropped yesterday was she claimed that Michael Jackson was still a virgin at 35 when they met. Still a virgin. Which, a few things. One, doesn't surprise me. But I'm also like, okay, what all the stuff he did to kids? Does that still make him a virgin? I watched the HBO documentary on Michael Jackson. I watched it, and I believe it. I don't think those kids made that up, or adults now. I don't think they made that up. I think he 100% was a pedo. So then this news breaks She said he was still a virgin at 35, and this is in her book again, From Here to the Great Unknown. So they met and they started dating. By the way, I remember when they made that first appearance together. I remember. I remember exactly how it was. I believe it was Oprah. I was on vacation with my family. I should have had this clip pulled up, ready to go. But I was on vacation with my family in South Carolina at a place called Fripp Island we used to go. I've talked about it. And I remember watching the interview with my family. And he was just so bizarre. At that point, he was just fully weird. He was weird. I laugh when they call these politicians weird, right? They call these politicians. No, Michael Jackson was weird. Definition of weird. By the mid 90s, he was Looney Tunes. He was a full-time resident in Cookville. Dude was off his rocker. And this is pre-social media. It didn't matter. He was the king of all pop. They couldn't get enough. The press couldn't get enough. He was a bizarre man. And he made that appearance with her on Oprah. And I remember she asked a question about sex, and it was just so cringe. Let me see this. Let's see if I can pull this up. Oh my God, she asked about sex. Wasn't it Oprah? Was it not Oprah? Was it not Oprah? What was it? Oh, this is the full interview. Anyway, I'm not gonna pull this up. I wanna go back to the book. That's why I'm talking about it. So they meet and they start dating. So she was still married to her ex-husband. And apparently, according to her book, they split after Jackson confessed his love to her during a trip they took to Las Vegas. Michael said, I'm gonna do my Michael Jackson impersonation, which is gonna be terrible. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm completely in love with you. It's so bad. I want us to get married and for you to have my children. Presley writes in her From Here to the Great Unknown. She said, I didn't say anything immediately, but then I said, I'm really flattered. I can't even talk. By then, I felt I was in love with him too. What would there be to love about this man? I just don't get like nothing about this man. Someone like her, I would think she would want someone who was more masculine. So they get together, and she said when they were romantically involved, he told me he was still a virgin. She writes in her book, I think he had kissed Tatum O'Neal and he'd had a thing with Brooke Shields, which hadn't been physical apart from a kiss. He said Madonna had tried to hook up with him once too, but nothing happened. I was terrified because I didn't want to make the wrong move. By the way, no one's surprised. Madonna tried to bang everybody. Everybody. That's probably what he needed. He probably needed some lessons from Madonna. This is crazy. So they got married in May of 94. He was 35, she was 25, and she was just weeks removed from her previous marriage, divorce finalizing. That's insane, though. Do we believe that? That he was still a virgin? I don't know. I mean, he's sucking off little kids or whatever he's doing. I don't know. I mean, you watch the HBO documentary, it's just horrifying the things he was doing to those kids at the time. So I mean, I guess they're saying he was a virgin through vaginal sex. I don't know. Not sure about that. She's Looney Tunes too. Lisa Marie was Looney Tunes too. Because then the next story that comes out from her book is that she kept her dead son's body on dry ice for 2 months. 2 months. She kept her dead son's body on dry ice in their house. That's not normal. I was thinking about that when I read the story. I said, the thought of having my parents' body in the house after they died is insane. It's so insane, especially after somebody dies because they don't look like themselves. Now, I don't know how her son would have looked. He committed suicide. I know because my parents had been in the hospital, they did not look like themselves. And the truth is, it was tough to see their bodies after they died. I think I shared this story recently on Dirty Sports. One of my brothers at the funeral home, when they showed how they did my dad's body, they lifted up the casket, and my brother, and quote, said, "Who the fuck is that?" Which is funny to my family now. Now, at the time, we were like, "Dude, what are you saying?" Like, obviously, dad looks pretty beaten up from 3 weeks in a hospital, but they're trying their best. So that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me that she had her son's body in their house in Los Angeles on dry ice for 2 months. In the book, she wrote, "There is no law in the state of California that you have to bury someone immediately." Her daughter Riley writes in the book, so her brother was Benjamin who died. That was Lisa Marie's son, Benjamin. It was really important for mom to have ample time to say goodbye to him, the way she'd done with her dad, Elvis, who died when she was 9. To get Benjamin's body into the home, Lisa Marie writes she enlisted the help of a compassionate funeral homeowner. She writes in the book, "Having my dad in the house after he died was incredibly helpful because I could go and spend time with him and talk to him." She said they kept the body of her son Benjamin's at 55 degrees, and she went back and forth deciding where to bury him in Hawaii or Graceland. That was part of why it took so long, she writes. I got so used to him, caring for him, and keeping him there. I think it would scare the living fucking piss out of anybody else to have their son there like that, but not me. Yeah, it's bizarre. And look, I'm not one to judge how you grieve. I know firsthand it's not easy to grieve people. And people how I have 5 brothers. We've probably all grieved the loss of my parents differently and in our own ways. And some people take it full head on like me, and they're very open, they're very emotional. And I have other brothers who probably took different paths, and that's fine. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way on how to grieve the loss of a loved one. But I am saying it's a little weird to have a body of a dead person in your house for 2 months. That's a little kooky. Now I understand why you married Michael Jackson. You're both in Kookville. You're both the mayor and the deputy mayor of Kookville. It's just it's pretty ridiculous that she would go in there, she would talk to him. I don't know, is it? Am I wrong here? I guess I visit my parents' cemetery and I talk to them, or I talk to my parents when they're not at the not going to the cemetery. I'll just say, "Help me out here, mom. Help me out here, dad." Just the body. That's tough. That's a tough one, man. Like, you're going into another room that would haunt me at night. I wouldn't be able to sleep. Again, everybody's different. Everybody's different. I I struggled to go in my parents' bedroom when I moved back home. because I didn't wanna be around their bedroom. That was tough for me. It's actually the exact opposite of Lisa Marie. I couldn't be in the same room as my parents. And then I got to the point I said, "Okay, I'm gonna sleep in their bed one night." And that's weird. Maybe I'm weird. And I didn't do it though. I never did it. I spent very little time in their room. And death is it does weird things and you hold on to weird things. We just got new deck furniture and we had the old deck furniture or the old patio furniture from my parents' house. And we just got new deck furniture yesterday, actually. So I put out the patio furniture we had from my parents' house that was on our deck. I put that out for the trash last night. And one of the items was my dad's chair. These are just old, nothing special, black iron chairs, furniture. But even last night when I put out that chair, I was like, I was a little depressed. I was a little it was kinda tough. I know it sounds crazy. That was always the chair my dad sat in when he was on our back patio. And the reason I brought it to my new house was because I wanted dad's chair. I just wanted to have it because it only brings good memories of my dad sitting out there, having a beer, looking at his yard, watching the birds, watching the squirrels. My dad loved to just sit there. All those positive vibes. So when I put it out the trash last night, I had a moment. I was like, this is kind of tough. It's like one last piece to let go of dad that I've held on to the last 2 years at this house and the previous couple years at my parents' house when I lived there. So it's not easy to let go. I fully understand that. But to me, it's a big difference holding on to a chair or holding on to something that reminds you of a loved one than actually holding on to the body. That's a lot. I don't know. Not for me. But it's all coming out now. Obviously, there's a history of that family. Elvis, now Lisa Marie, now her son. Like there's probably a lot of drug drug abuse, mental health. Seems like there's a lot of issues. And again, grieving's not easy. We all do it in our own way. In fact, I'll let you guys in on something. And you might think I'm kooky and that I should be mayor of Kookyville. I used to lay on the floor of the dining room of my parents' house on my back, which I used to always do in California. I used to try to like meditate on my back. I would get in like a almost like a trance. I'd always do it on my back on the carpet. And I would hover between sleeping but not really sleeping. And at my parents' house, I would focus real hard. And when I would lay on my back on the floor, I could almost feel like I was talking to my mom and I would almost simulate in the living room talking to her on the old furniture setup. And I used to tell my therapist about this. I'd say, "Dude, I swear to God, man, I feel like I'm talking to my mom." I get in this very relaxed state of mind where I really focus and I feel like we're talking. And that recently happened to me when I did sensory deprivation. Same thing. Where you have to be in the right state of mind where everything else is zoning out. And I felt like I was having a conversation with my mom. And my therapist would say, "Look, man, Whether you really are or aren't doesn't matter. If you feel you are, that's all that matters, which I agree with. So, I don't know. Maybe she wasn't as crazy as I'm saying she is. Maybe I shouldn't have said that because I'm maybe just as wild. Who knows? I couldn't do it though. I could not do the body thing. Like, I love Roscoe. I love this little guy on my left. We're not gonna keep his body around after he dies. Sorry, bud. Love you, but I'm not doing that. We do have a call this week I'd like to get to. Let's pull up the old hotline here for the Andy Ruther Show. 859-935-0078. That is the hotline here. 859-935-0078. What we got here? Let's see. Let me crank this up. All right, let's see here.
Word. I love that little voice message you got, Ruther. But what's going on, big guy? Listen to episode 21 as I'm driving. One of my fun habits. Love the show. You're talking about driving with your little girl, Isla, my little kid, or 16-year-olds or whatever are crazy drivers, which actually sparked a thought, and it reminded me of when drivers had that bumper sticker saying "baby on board." It's like the yellow hazard, "baby on board." And Bill Burr actually has a funny bit on when families have like the little stick figure families on their SUV and how like serial killers will look at that and track them down. So, yeah, my question is, do you find that cringe? I find it super cringe. Baby on board? Like, that's not going to change a crazy 60-year-old or just a crazy person driving to be like, oh, wait, they have a baby. Let me slow down, right? Like, I just find it cringe. I want to know your thoughts on baby on board, bumper stickers, the stick figure family. It's super cringe. I hope you're not that guy in your little hatchback. So let me know next week. Hopefully you play my call. And love you, and you keep doing your thing. Peace out.
Well, first of all, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. And I fully agree. It's also cringe. It's next level cringe. Baby on board, the stick figures. I just don't get it. In fact, I know for sure I've tweeted about this sometime in the past 10 years. I know for sure I've done a tweet about baby on board. And this is way before I even had a kid. I fully agree. No one has stopped or no one has slowed down or curbed their reckless driving because they see a baby on board bumper sticker. No one has ever done that in history. I don't understand it. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. What is the end game? Take me through your thought process. Do you think a maniac driver or some dumb 17-year-old driver who's half watching the road, half looking at TikTok is going to be like, oh, baby on board. I should put down my phone. I shouldn't look at those videos anymore. No, that's never happened, and it never will. To me, you know what the baby on board is? It's in the wheelhouse of the coexist. It's in that wheelhouse. It's like you're patting yourself on the back in a weird way. Like, look at me, I have a baby on board. Respect me. Like you have to stand out, which our that's all our culture does now is all those things. I think that's what it is. The stick figure family is I don't know what it is. What is that? Why? 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 What are we doing? Cool, you have kids. Congrats. Do you want a trophy? Do you want a medal? You have children. People have had children since the beginning of time. You put your penis inside someone and didn't pull out. That's what happened. I mean, it's procreation. It's literally how we are on this earth today. Why? I don't care how many kids you have. I don't. In fact, you know what? You know what? I'm glad you left this call. I'm actually now to the point. I, some of you guys might not agree with me on this one. I don't even like. Why are we putting all our kids' schools bumper stickers? I'm not even for that. My parents never did that. Like if you have a kid in high school, a kid at a different school, a kid in another grade school, like you put all the bumper stickers of your kids' schools. I don't know. I guess it's school pride. I guess it's no different than a college or pro team. I'm not even into that. Why does everybody have to let everybody know everything? And for the record, that Bill Burr bit is great. That's a great Bill Burr is that's why he's one of the best ever. It's a fucking hilarious bit. Bill Burr is brilliant. So true. You want everybody to know how many kids you have? Really? Why don't you list their age and their names and their shoe size while you're at it? All those things. I don't get it. I don't get the baby on board. I never have. They gotta have some fun ones, right? Like is there a bumper sticker that says "My baby on board says you're a shitty driver"? Do they have any of those bumper stickers? My baby on board says "Suck these nuts." Do those exist? Because those should exist. My baby on board says you're a dork. My baby on board is screaming and crying and being a brat. My baby on board is losing her mind because the cereal ran out in her little pouch she was eating in her car seat. They should say, feel sorry for me. I got a baby on board because kids can be hell in the car. Isla did that yesterday, just had a mental breakdown. We went through Walgreens drive through to pick up a prescription for her because she has her 1 millionth ear infection and just had a breakdown in the drive through yesterday. Just throwing everything she had, right? She likes to flip through her books in the car. She likes to hold her stuffed animals, her burp cloth, her pacifier. I had a little thing of cereal and a little pouch for her. Every single thing she just chucked. I wanted to put a bumper sticker. My baby on board is being a bitch because that's how she was acting. I don't get why people want everybody to know everything about their families and their kids. Now, granted, I talk about it on a podcast. So maybe I shouldn't talk. I'm not putting it on my car. I think car bumper stickers are one of the weirdest things ever. You've never changed anyone's opinion ever, especially when they're political. I find it just so bizarre. Like, do you love that politician that much that you have to let the world know who you're voting for? In America, we have a hero worship problem. I really think we do, especially with politicians and athletes. We have a hero worship problem. And this is coming from a guy who loves sports, loves to, you know, watch sports, go to games. But I think we have a hero worship problem with athletes, celebrities, and politicians. And I find that very peculiar, to be honest. Like I don't know, the bumper sticker, you're letting the world know who you're voting for, or the bumper sticker that has some social or political belief. I don't know. Is it because I grew up with parents who just never put bumper stickers on ever? My mom at one point did the 13.1 that she does half marathons, and I made fun of her. Like, so the world has to know you do half marathons, Mom? I don't know. You know, my dad did classic Walt Ruther. This was my dad's sense of humor. He got a bumper sticker for his grade school when he got older, which is hilarious. He never had a bumper sticker for his kids' schools, his kids' high schools, his kids' colleges. No, my dad at like 65 got a bumper sticker for his grade school that he attended 50 plus years earlier because he thought it was funny. That was my dad. Great sense of humor. Shout out to Walt Ruther. I don't get it, and I definitely don't get the baby on board bumper stickers. Pretty lame. Appreciate the call, though. Again, if you guys have a call you'd like to leave, 859-935-0078. We're always open for reviews on Apple and on Spotify. So go ahead and drop a review if you care to. And if you are in the line for this hurricane, if you're in the, I don't know, not line, if you're going to be hit, sending you guys love. I know it's supposed to be real gnarly, so evacuate. Don't stick around. This stuff looks like it's going to be real bad, so sending you guys love that way. All right, guys, that is the show. Thanks for sticking with me. See you guys next week.